way, shape, or form, you've been exposed to this equation of a line. You've seen it like this. Y is equal to A plus BX. Let me define those for you. So it's probably like MX plus C or something like that you did in high school. In this course, this is how we're going to write it. Y is equal to A plus BX. Now let's define these variables. The Y is just like the name suggests. It's the name of the variable on the Y-axis. So the Y is the name of the dependent variable. Just like the name suggests. Y is the name of the variable on the Y-axis, which is the name of the dependent variable. The A is what we call the intercept. We'll talk about this in a minute. The B, this one you might not be so familiar with, but that's okay, we'll go through it. It's a slope. And the X, you can already guess what the X is. X, just like the X-axis, this is the name of the independent variable. Yeah? So that Y is equal to A plus BX. There are all the players associated with that. Let's do this. Let's do our example again. And we're going to use the equation of the line with this very same example. So let's do the example again. Let's do that. It's the same example, but now we're going to do this equation of the line. And we're going to use this very same example. Now whenever you get these problems, no matter what I ask you, once you see the graph and the equation of the line, what you want to do is draw your graph. Once you draw the graph, you're going to see that everything will fall into place very naturally. Draw the graph. Even if I give you a table and say, tell me the equation of the line, don't just jump into it. Draw the graph first and you'll see why. If we're going to use this example, we know we're trying to find this. We're trying to find Y is equal to A plus BX. We're going to use that example and fill in these particular pieces. We said Y is the name of the dependent variable. Y is the name that we have on the Y-axis. From our example, what's the name of the variable on the Y-axis?
Consumption.
Here we go. Put it in. This is why I say draw the graph first. What about the X? What's the name of the variable on the X-axis? Consumption is equal to, let's leave these for now, A plus B times income. There we go. You have half of the problem done. Now the A, let's do that one. The A, let me give you a definition first. This is the value of the dependent variable when the independent variable is 0. So the A, that's the value of the dependent variable when the independent variable is 0. That's how you figure out the A. So look at your independent variable, and where it's 0, pick up the value of your dependent variable. In our example, how much is that?
50-50.
You can see that, yeah?
Yeah, that question came in my head.
0, pick up the 50. Or if you look at your graph, this is a good way to get it. I always like to look at the graph. We look at where the graph crosses the Y-axis, and that's your A. It's the same spot. So if we want to put in the pieces, consumption, we have one more piece is equal to 50. B times income. This is why I say draw your graph first. If you draw your graph, things will fall naturally in place. Yes? Let's do the B. For the B, which is the slope, one thing I want you to remember is this. The B, the slope, it's rise over run. And I'm going to explain that. B is rise over run. If you remember rise over run, you can't go wrong. Rise over run, that's the B. This is what I mean. Let me help you to visualize this. When you rise, think of when you're rising. You rise up in an elevator. You rise up on the escalator. That's the rise. The rise is the movement vertically. So when you're thinking about what's rise, look at the movement on the vertical axis. We move from 0 to 50. What's the rise? 50 to 100? 100 to 150? That's the rise. Have your hand up? When you run horizontally. You run on the ground. You don't run on walls. You're not Spider-Man. So you run horizontally. So the movement on the horizontal axis is the run. If you forget, I'm running, you're running horizontally. 0 to 100, what's the run? 100 to 200?
200.
200 to 300?
100.
That's your slope. Which means if you put all of this together, the equation of the line from that example is this. Consumption is equal to 50 plus a half times the income. Draw your graph first and things will fall naturally in place. I need to show you one quick thing. That slope, rise over run, that's all you need to remember. Do you remember earlier when I asked you what is the relationship between income and consumption? Somebody told me what that was. What was it? On this graph, the relationship between income and consumption, what type of relationship? Positive. Yeah? So, I'll put this in a little note over here. If you notice, when we did rise over run, and you guys just told me the relationship is positive, when you put that B in the equation, positive relationship, it needs to have a positive sign. That's why we have plus a half times income. Yeah? Now, if it was the case that the relationship was negative, remember, that's when the graph slopes downward, you're still interested in rise over run. The only thing you would do differently is when you put it in the equation, you need to put a negative sign on it. Things kind of match up. Positive relationship, same rise over run, but you put a plus sign. Negative relationship, you're still doing rise over run. The only thing you would do differently is when you drop it in the equation, you put a negative sign. So if I give you a note, B is equal to plus B if the relationship is positive. D is equal to minus B if the relationship is negative. If it was a negative relationship, same rise over run, but now you put a negative sign. Because this is a positive relationship, you plot a positive sign in front of the B. Rise over run, that's the B. Yes? Draw the graph, things follow naturally. Find the name of the Y. Find the name of the X. Get your A. If you get confused, remember, it's where it crosses the Y-axis. Rise over run, that's the slope. Positive sign if it was a positive relationship. Negative sign if it was a negative relationship.